Start with the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
351 Bridge Lane LLC. Rich, are you up and running?
I am up and running.
Okay, thank you.
How are you today? So I've reviewed the.
Hey, Rich, do you want me to display something?
Yeah, why don't you put the proposed subdivision plan up, and then we'll switch to the yield plan.
Okay.
If you could. So I'll talk while she's putting that up. So this is a continuation of the review of the pre-application was submitted back in November of 2022. They submitted it, and then the maps that they had needed a fair amount of work in order to show compliance with the requirements. And in the intervening months or so, I had a number of telephone calls with the attorney John Tarbett, who represents the applicant, and also some communications back and forth with Dave Saskus, who's done the surveys at Saskus Surveying, to go over. There was some confusion about how the code establishes lot yield. So this is their proposed subdivision plan. It is actually, this is the yield plan. Sorry. So actually, can you do the other one first?
I'm sorry, Rich, go ahead.
Is it that one there? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's the plan. Yeah, so we can just scroll down.
Those on Zoom, please mute yourselves if you're not speaking. Thank you.
Actually, this is not the latest plan either, Rody.
This is not the.
No, it's just this is. Oh no, actually no. I'm sorry. This is the latest plan. Yeah, scroll down. Okay, great, perfect, right there.
This is March 19th of 2024. John, that's latest, right? March.
Yeah, this is it. So you just scroll up a little bit.
No, I don't think so. You don't think it is?
June 4th.
I think it's June. Are we talking yield or are we talking?
No, the subdivision plan. The yield is more recent. So that one right there. Just leave it there.
6/5/24.
Maybe you could zoom out a little bit.
The way this is. Very small.
All right, so what they're proposing to do is to divide this 33.49 acre property into 2 residential lots. This is a piece of property that has a restriction with Conic Land Trust on the northern 2/3 of the property, where it says reserved area. So there was an easement that was established back some time ago. The northern lot that they propose will be about 773,000 square feet. When you exclude the wetlands, it's 14 acres in size. When you exclude the easement area, you wind up with 4.5 acres of land that's unrestricted, in which they could, so they can demonstrate that they're entitled to this lot. Access to this lot is down a common driveway that you can see that's coming down off of Bridge Lane, coming all the way down. They have 40 feet of frontage coming down that would go to lot number 2. And there's a tennis court that is located within and partially outside of the building envelope for lot number 1. That tennis court is to be removed. You'll see there's kind of a cluster of structures that are within the reserved area. I've got some comments about those in a little bit. Lot number 2, which is a southern lot, they've designed the building envelope that goes around the existing house and the existing improvements. This lot would have a 61,000 square foot building envelope. And again, this lot has 41 feet of frontage. It meets the frontage requirements of the code. In looking at this drawing, I compared it to the requirements of section 190-11.1, which is the plan requirements for in the subdivisional land chapter. And I believe it complies with all of the requirements necessary for a sketch plan for submission that would allow you to go forward with a hearing. You'll see on the map there's a couple of notations. There's some red circles around language, which frankly are things that should come off the map, because they are things that the planning board, the trustees, would not be approving in the review of a subdivision anyway. Like right in the middle of this illustration, you see it says existing trees to be removed. There's two large circles where it's showing existing trees to be removed. That should come off the map, and they would require an application to the village and to the state for the removal of trees because they're within wetlands. They're within the wetland area that's designated by property. There's notations about existing fencing within wetlands to be relocated outside the wetland areas. That's something else that should be removed off this map. Not to say that they aren't things that need to be attended to, but you typically wouldn't have actions such as that shown on a subdivision map. There's an existing wood walkway to be removed, existing trampoline to be removed. There's a notation that says all fences within agricultural areas to be no greater than 6 feet in height. So those are notations that probably, frankly, don't belong on the subdivision map per se. Can you zoom in a little bit on those buildings that are within the ag reserve? Yeah. So you'll see there's a one-story frame building there. When we got the map, this revised map from the applicant recently, it changed where you'll see just to the north of the building, there's a notation as a sanitary flag. And then about 30 feet away at the other corner of the building, you'll see a notation that says well. I actually, I went to the village to take a look at the records for when this property was actually originally developed, because you have the records from town of Southampton. This was originally shown as a barn with no sanitary system. So I talked with Rhodey and I talked with John Woodsman about it. And then I called John Tarbett and I said, you're going to have to provide some documentation about what all this means for this, because now we've got some notations on a map. And is this structure being used as some sort of habitable structure? It's within a reserved area. So we're going to have to get some more details about that. And somewhere along the way in the process, it's going to have to get resolved before we get to approving any kind of subdivision. The chicken coops that are there, you'll see there's a whole bunch of chicken coops. I asked them to demonstrate that those are all actually legally permissible, because you do have a requirement in the code for getting special permit for keeping of chickens. These are the things, the map notations, I think from the perspective of removing the trees and the fencing, I view them as really kind of minor things on the map, and I don't think that they should hold up the scheduling of this for a pre-application hearing. So this way we can hear some public comment about this, because you still have to do a pre-application report. But with that being said, there are things that have to be legitimatized before we get through the approval process on this matter. The yield map, if you can bring that one up, Brody, for a second. Yeah, so this is the yield map that was done. And the yield map is just a theoretical, essentially mathematical computation of whether or not there's sufficient lot area to be able to demonstrate you're entitled to 2 lots. So they've been able to demonstrate that they have sufficient lot area, they have sufficient lot width at the building line. You can see those arrows that cross right at the northern and western ends of the building envelopes for the 2 lots. They have a park area that's up on the street. There's 5 acres per 100 lots, so they do have a park requirement that they had to demonstrate. So they do have sufficient area to show a park. They have sufficient lot area, and they have building envelopes that meet all the required setbacks, zoning setbacks, as well as wetland setbacks. So I believe that from a yield perspective, they are entitled to 2 lots. I did have a conversation with Rhodey, and then we had some emails back and forth with the village attorney, Brian Egan, about the open space and how that would, on the subdivision map, how that would be constituted, because there is a 65% required open space when you're in the R120 district. And we determined that the map, this other subdivision map, not this one, but the other map, does comply to that. They have a total of, I think it's 60, almost 67% of open space when you add in the reserved area and the conservation easement area that are shown on the plan. So in my opinion, that the map is compliant, and I would suggest that the board schedule this for a public hearing, so this way we can hear what the public has to say about it. My memo to you does have information there that the applicant does need to address relative to some of these other outstanding issues on the property. And I think that they are things that will need to be issued before we actually move forward with a formal subdivision for this property. And I did talk these over with John Tarbett, so he's aware of it by phone after I left Village Hall, and we determined some of the information. I gave him a call, so this way he would not be surprised to hear about this. But for the purposes of a public hearing, I'd recommend you deem it complete and schedule the public hearing, so this way we can listen to the public, and then I would prepare a pre-application report that is going to continue to include some of these items that need to be resolved. So I'm here to answer any questions.
The southern end, is that all wetland?
Yes. So
And that's
could you scroll down there a little bit? Yeah, so you can see that there's a line with lots of little red dots. That's wetlands. And you'll see the red solid line that is kind of curvilinear. That is the edge of the conservation easement that was established some time ago. So I would expect that at some point there probably will be an adjustment of that conservation easement. But the red is the wetlands line, red dots.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from the board? No. Okay, thank you, Rich. That's very thorough. Kevin, I guess you're up next.
Sure. Kevin Peterman from LK McLean Associates as the village engineer. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Rich pretty much nailed everything. He hit everything right on the head. We don't have too much to say. This application was submitted to the village, I think originally back in November of 2022. At that time, we reviewed it. We had some comments that were pretty minor, and we just requested that the applicant show all existing utilities and proposed utilities. And so with this subdivision plan, we believe they achieved that, and we have no further comments.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Applicant have questions? No questions. You've got all the paperwork on it and you know what to follow up on? Yeah. Okay.
And Bill, I think the board should recognize it's really just the first step in the subdivision process. There's a pre-application hearing, and then there'll be a report, and the report will be the consensus of the board relative to the map, and that'll get issued to the applicant, and then they'll have to come back again for further approval from the planning board once they go through health department approval and any other agency approval. So this is not the last, this hearing would not be the last time you'll see this matter.
Great. Making that clear. We're ready for it's a resolution. Okay. The first part I'm going to deem read. Yeah, that's okay with you. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Trustees that the pre-application of 351 Bridge Lane LLC is deemed complete, subject to comments of the village planner and village engineer, and that a public hearing on the pre-application is set for July 17th, 2024 at 3 p.m. at the Village Hall, and the clerk is directed to publish notice of said pre-application hearing. I'll make a motion, just made the motion to
Second.
set that hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Site plan application of 35 Spud LLC. I guess, Rich, you're up first again?
Sure, sure. So this is a 1.814 acre parcel on the ocean down of Potato Lane, 35 Potato Lane, where they intend to remove an existing structure and construct a new home. It's here to you for site plan approval pursuant to 245-65G and 245-51B of the Village Code. I went down, I inspected the property in early June, and the existing house that's on the property actually is the result of the merger of two individual lots and a connection of the two houses that were on those two lots with a breezeway. So you have a fairly large home on the house. This was all done before the village of Sagaponic. But it was merged back in 1993. So you got a large 3-story home on the property at the present time. It is a very wide beach in front of the property and a very healthy dune. And I sent some photographs of that. Right now, the existing house is 3 stories, non-compliant to the village code. It's 7,535 square feet, 5 bedrooms, has a garage, it has a swimming pool on the western end of the property. The applicant in one of their documents they submitted had a good table for use that talked about existing and proposed comparisons of what's there. So I actually cut and pasted that into my report just to make it easy. And when you look at the existing 3-story house, the existing GFA of the existing house is 7,535. The proposed 2-story house is 6,788 square feet. So there's actually a reduction in the size of the house by 747 square feet. The allowable GFA is 6,967. So you would be taking a non-compliant GFA house and making it compliant. In terms of the secondary GFA, in terms of decks and those kind of things, they are also reducing those down from the ground floor 2363 to 1,013, so it's a 1,350 square foot reduction. Second floor 191 to 204, there's a 13 square foot increase, and then the third floor it's 149 is being eliminated. So from a total GFA point of view on the property, when you add the primary and secondary, at present there's 10,236 square feet, where 8,012 is permitted, and they're going to 8,005. So this house is actually getting smaller in size. The one thing I would say that the house is positioned outside of the flood zone. It's in an X zone. A little surprising being on the ocean, but it is. And they are intending to put a basement underneath the home for the full extent of the house. The site plan that they've proposed has grading shown on it. They're showing that the area to the west of the house up around the swimming pool, you can see some proposed contours in there. They're looking to raise the grade in that area probably around 2 feet. The cut and fill calculations that they have provided show that there's a net exportation or removal of fill from the site of 1,178 cubic yards. And that's principally from the excavation of the foundation and the basement of it's 3,841 square feet of basement underneath this house. They have some drainage control shown on the plan. I'll let Kevin talk about that. They have a conceptual landscape plan prepared by Hollander, where they're showing that the property in its entirety is going to be landscaped with native material. So where the existing house is, where it's being pulled back from its current position, that whole area is going to be replanted with coastal plantings, beach grass and bayberry principally. So there's also a dramatic reduction in the driveway. At the present time, the driveway kind of meanders across the entire frontage of the house. You enter on the eastern side, and then there's a driveway that passes in front of the house underneath a porte cochere, and attached to a garage, and then you've got a parking area that's near the existing swimming pool. That driveway is going to be reduced dramatically. The plan that you see before you has received approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals because they did need some relief for this. So it is an allowable plan. So in general, my comments are that um, this plan from a code compliance point of view is beneficial. The plan represents an overall reduction in size of the house in GFA. The GFA will be brought into compliance. The two-story residence will eliminate the third-story non-compliance. The house shifts landward. It's going to be moving approximately 26 feet further to the north than the current structures are. It's shifting the swimming pool back about 25 feet further north, and it includes an upgrade of the sanitary system. On the plans that were presented, the seaward, so the house is lifted up a little bit, and the seaward edge of the patios and the swimming pool are shown to have a retaining wall. You can see in this drawing, there's a couple of steps going up to the terrace, and it shows a retaining wall. I just want to note specifically that the retaining wall that's being shown in the drawings, and in terms of the sense of this approval, that's simply a retaining wall to hold the terrace, and it's not to be considered some sort of erosion control structure, which would be a deep penetrating wall, vertical wall, to guard this house against erosion control. Because if that were the case, then I think that we would be having further discussion relative to it. But that's not what's shown on the plan, but I would want to be sure that any approval for this, that it's shown that that is not an erosion control wall, but it's simply a retaining wall, a shallow depth retaining wall for the terrace. Because vertical erosion control walls, when they become exposed, do cause downdrift erosion. So it's not something that I would recommend. All the drainage and grading, I defer to the engineer on. So from my perspective, this is a type 2 action under SECRA. So therefore no further environmental review, and subject to any comments from the engineer and the applicant address those, because I know that Kevin has a list of some of the things that he needs from them, and if the trustees are wind up being satisfied after they get responses back from the applicant on Kevin's comments, I would recommend that at that point the board declare this as a type 2 action under SECRA, and consider waiving the public hearing. I don't think you need a public hearing on this one from a site plan perspective, because there was a public hearing held before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and no one spoke. So they didn't have any comments relative to it. So I don't know that it would make sense to hold another public hearing for something where it's going to be the same people sitting around the room looking at each other. So at that, I'll turn it over to Kevin for his comments relative to the engineering on the project.
Great, thanks, Rich. Kevin Peterman, again from LKMA as the village engineer. So we have reviewed the civil engineering plans prepared by the Rayner Group, last revised May 16th, 2024. They were submitted for site plan review in accordance with Village Code 245, Section 65G. As Rich mentioned, the subject property is approximately 1.81 acres and abuts the Atlantic Ocean along its southern boundary. The applicant seeks to demolish the currently improved residence, swimming pool, and sanitary system, and develop a new residence, swimming pool, and IA sanitary system on the property. The property is bisected by the coastal erosion hazard boundary, where the proposed work appears to be landward of this boundary, so that's a good thing. Proposed work also appears to be located within FEMA flood zone X, which is an area of minimal flood hazard. The applicant previously received a letter of non-jurisdiction from the DEC, as well as the Town of Southampton Land Management Office for the proposed work. We were looking at the proposed basement floor elevation just to see what impacts that would have on groundwater. Are we going to require dewatering for the install of the basement? So if the basement finished floor is set at 6.25 as depicted on the plans, doesn't seem like dewatering will be required. Groundwater was encountered at elevation 2.7, so there's a nice amount of fluff in there. The depth of the pool, of the swimming pool, the proposed swimming pool, I should say, that was a little bit unclear. So we can't say for certain whether or not dewatering will be required for the swimming pool. So maybe that's something the applicant would be able to address further. Rich was mentioning the proposed improvements appear to result in the net export of approximately 1,178 cubic yards of material. And, you first look at this plan and you say, oh, net export, that's a little bit surprising, but they are providing a full basement for the footprint of the home. And that basement with the pool that's going to generate a lot of export. And that export is already being balanced by the applicant's effort to raise the grade along the northwest and the west side of the residence. And so they're bringing finished floor of this new residence up to elevation 17, and they're trying to create a level yard, bringing that existing grade of the residence from elevation 15 up to 17. And so we reviewed the cut fill calculations provided on the plans. We feel they are reasonable, and we have no comments on the cut fill calculations. We do offer some specific comments on the plans. Number one, we're requesting that the applicant depict the location of the existing utility serving the property. Where is the existing water main? Where is the underground electric? To provide grading spot elevations at regular intervals along the western property line. And so, as I mentioned before, they're looking to raise the grade to the west side of the residence. And we just want to make sure that as a result of that grade being raised, that stormwater runoff is not going to be diverted to the neighbor on the west side. And, we have a lot of pervious area over in this area, per the plans. We see sand, we see landscaped area. And so there wouldn't be a lot of runoff coming from this, but we would like the applicant to address that and provide more spot elevations to show an effort that stormwater will not make its way to the neighboring property. We are asking the applicant to label the drainage inlet elevations and the invert elevations, especially within the proposed fire pit. They've got a drainage inlet in that fire pit on the south side of the home. And, we've got high groundwater here, and we have to demonstrate, or rather the applicant has to demonstrate that they can maintain 2 feet clearance from the groundwater elevation. From the bottom of leaching to that groundwater elevation has to be 2 feet. And so without knowing the invert elevations and where exactly that grate elevation is, that inlet elevation is in the fire pit, it's hard to determine whether the applicant can actually satisfy that 2-foot requirement. We are asking that the applicant depict and label the drainage tributary areas on the plan. It was a little hard for us to follow the drainage calcs because we didn't see the drainage tributary areas defined. Locations to be depicted. Roof drain downspout detail, demonstrating how roof drains will be conveyed to the on-site stormwater management system. We ask for that detail to be provided. We are asking for details for stormwater leaching structures and the perforated drainage pipes, which are proposed along the west side of the residence. We're asking them to demonstrate that they can maintain that 2 feet clearance to groundwater from the bottom of leaching. And they are proposing a dry well on the east side of the property that appears to be directly on the property line. And usually we would recommend that the minimum distance from a drainage structure to a property line be at least 5 feet. When you're installing a drainage structure at a property line, on the property line, it's hard to prove that you're not going to disturb the neighbor's property as a result of your excavation. And so we would request that a minimum of 5 feet be provided between the drainage structures and the property line along the east side. We're also asking for some details on the surface materials for the hardscape. What is the driveway? They have they have it labeled as gravel. We'd like to see detail of that. We'd like to see detail of the patio and the decking. They are proposing a retaining wall, like a sunken utility area to the east of the residence. So we were asking to see some details on that. Scrolling along here. One of the most important aspects of the application, which we feel was missing, is the soil erosion and sediment control plans. And so this has been a comment that we've been making. You guys have heard me say this many times before. The applicant really should be demonstrating that a drop of water, that any sort of, stormwater runoff during construction is not going to leave the site. We want to make sure that the village's right-of-way is protected. We want to make sure that the surface waters and groundwater quality are protected during construction. And so the soil erosion and sediment control plan is a way that the applicant can demonstrate that and enforce that. And so what we'd be looking for on that soil erosion and sediment control plan, where's your silt fence? What is the detail of that silt fence? Are you going to have a construction entrance, tracking pad, to make sure that any sort of construction equipment coming onto the site is not going to be dragging out dirt into the village's right-of-way, or in this case, the right-of-way, the private right-of-way? Are you going to have a concrete washout, and where is that going to be located? Drainage inlets, protections, some things along those nature. Moving along. Like I said before, an export permit may be required from the village building inspector for the net export of about 1,178 cubic yards of material. And I know in the past with properties that abut private right-of-ways, it comes into question, what happens if this right-of-way is damaged during construction? How do we handle that? And so once all the other outstanding comments have been addressed and the village board feels satisfied with the resubmission, the village board may elect to have a condition on the approval be that any damage caused to this private right-of-way as a result of this application be repaired at the expense of the applicant. And with that, I have no further comments, but I am available if anyone has any questions.
I have questions.
Good, go ahead.
I'm worried about the dune. It's not too close to the dune, is it? The disturbance, area of disturbance. Let's see, where is it?
If we pull up C1 shows it well, I think. So the civil plan C1 has a nice view of existing conditions and the limit of disturbance.
That would be. Yeah,
Brody, I can share my screen if that's actually, that should be the one, what you just clicked. Yep. Perfect. So we can zoom in there and we can see what's going on.
So where's the high mark for the dune?
Is this what you want, Kevin?
Yes, this is it. That is a good question. It's technically not something that we should have to infer. But it looks like the crest of dune is occurring.
It's not shown on this particular drawing.
Right.
On this drawing, it may be on some of the others.
Let's see.
The green mark, the green line,
Yes.
I guess.
Gotcha.
Oh, no, that's the disturbance, I'm sorry. The crest of the dune is the red line.
Is the red line.
Yes,
Crest of
correct. Crest of dune is the red one. And limit of disturbance is green. So they do depict it on the survey.
So how far away is the green line from the red line?
It's pretty close, but unfortunately, it's that close because you have to get the other house out of there. So, I mean, I guess one.
How much further back is the new house than the old house?
This is
New house is going back. I've measured that.
Brody, if I could share my screen, I can share aerial pictures from March of 2024 that kind of show, you know, what things are looking like right now and why their limit of disturbance kind of has that bulb out in that area. And it seems that's where the existing sanitary system is located. So let me.
Can you share? Did I allow you to share?
Not yet.
The existing house is 30.6
How about now?
from the crest of dune. And the proposed.
Say that again?
The existing house is 30.6 feet from the crest of the dune, and the proposed house is going to be 56.1 feet from the crest of the dune. So it's going to shift back about 26 feet.
26 feet.
Yeah, so that's what's there now.
What do they consider the southerly boundary of this piece of property? The crest of the dune? The high water mark?
I believe it's the high water mark,
Okay.
the average high water.
Yeah.
But what you can see here is kind of the same story that's being told on that survey. So if we look and we zoom in, this is the supposed location. And, you know, this is going to have to be disturbed in order to remove the existing home and the existing sanitary system. So it does seem that the applicant is making an effort to disturb as little as possible in, you know, in these areas closest to the coastal erosion hazard boundary.
It doesn't look like there's much of a dune there anyway.
Well, I don't know that this photograph actually represents the conditions that are there today. And Rhodey, do you have the photographs that I attached to my report? Because it's a pretty healthy dune.
Well, I'm glad it's put further back. And how deep did you say the cellar is? The basement?
I believe the basement is set at elevation 6.25. And I remember, if I'm remembering correctly, it was about a 10-foot high basement.
And which in the FEMA flood zone X, they're entitled to have. So the overall height of the house is coming down. So it's shorter than what's existing, but they're taking some space up down below the house, which would not count for GFA by the village code.
Just opening up the pictures, Rich.
Yeah, yeah, I provided a couple of them to have a sense of what the dunes are like.
So it used to be a 3-story. How did that happen?
It's pre-existing non-conforming house, back in town of Southampton time. So this is a view from standing, towards the beach, not actually out on the beach, kind of looking to the north.
So there's no dune.
Actually, that's,
Right,
correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, you're taking that picture from the crest of Dune looking back, correct?
No, actually, no, I'm not at the crest of the dune yet there. I'm actually standing out in the kind of the middle. I actually wanted to just get back far enough to get the entire house within the picture so as you can see it. But the next picture turns around. So flip the next picture. Really. Oh, okay, yeah, here. So, yep, sorry, back one. So now you're looking actually towards the ocean. So there's series of rows of snow fencing and beach grass in between. So the dune is actually prograding. It's actually building out bigger. Probably has something to do with the fact that this was an area that benefited when they did the dredging offshore and widened the beaches, which a lot of Sagaponack had. This area was hit pretty hard back in Sandy, Superstorm Sandy. But the beach actually and the dunes are actually pretty healthy right now. And the owner should continue to maintain it the way he has.
So there's no issue with a cellar on a beach house?
It was curious to me that the area was in the next zone, but the Federal Emergency Management Agency has designated this area as a FEMA X zone. So it has no FEMA flood construction requirements so you can build a cellar in the position where they propose to put it. So I don't know how one says no to that when the federal government's the one that actually establishes where you are required to build on pilings and where you're not.
I was also surprised to see that the residence was in a zone X, an area of minimal flood hazard. And so we actually pulled the FEMA maps to check, and we found, in concurrence with what the applicant is showing in their drawings, they show accurately the flood boundaries.
Thank you.
Sure.
And the applicant did go to the zoning board of appeals because they needed relief from Dune Crest for the construction. They received that relief as a variance. So I think the positioning of the house is something that, in terms of its position towards the ocean, is something that's allowable. It is further landward than what's existing. So I think that is something that is important.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Sure. They did go to the zoning board of appeals and got a variance for the position of the house relative to the dune crest. But it is more landward than what exists there today. So I think that it's probably, I don't want to tell the board what to do, what your job is, but it's probably a little hard to say to the applicant, you have to move it back further, in as much as they've received a variance from the zoning board of appeals for the position that it's in. It's being proposed. But it is more landward, and so I think that is beneficial. And someone who's going to invest this kind of money in their home is probably going to also be vigilant about maintaining the dune conditions on their property, because everyone knows when you're on the ocean, the dune is what protects your property.
Yeah, and just one, there are no other penetrations in the dune. The existing boardwalk is to remain, so there's no other proposed penetrations to the dune.
I always heard once a house is there, the dune goes.
Well, this house is lower, so that should help.
Maybe.
Yeah. I actually walked down the Sagaponic Beach, from Wainscott Pond down to Sag Main Beach, right after Sandy, about 2 or 3 weeks after Sandy. And I took photographs of many of the homes, and what happened with the conditions there. And there were homes that were to the east of this that were sitting up on pilings down off of Daniels Lane, sitting up on pilings with no dirt underneath them. Swimming pools elevated with no dirt underneath them, elevated on pilings. Those homes today are restored, the dunes restored, there's healthy dunes in front of them. A lot of that action took place very quickly right after Sandy, where people brought in material to actually restore the dunes to protect their homes. And then I think with the widening of the beach that occurred, with that coastal erosion district taxation, that's actually very much improved the dune conditions in this area. I have heard, I haven't ever got confirmation, but I have heard that there's some discussion about doing that again because the 10-year period expired for the taxation. So I don't know if that's being pushed through the town or not, but I just know when I went and looked at the conditions, these were photographs from June 5th. It is in pretty good shape. It had a nice, healthy, wide beach.
Any other questions from the board? Do you folks have any questions? I mean, you've got his write-up, but
I think the comments need to be able to get to our engineer and get back, no problem. With regards to the pool, Melissa, could you just state your name for the record? Sure. Melissa Dennis, Platonic Environmental Associates, on behalf of the applicant. You want me to stand up there? Please, thank you. Gosh. So I was just talking to Mr. Hollander here, and the pool in question, Kevin, is 5 feet deep. It's more of a plunge pool. So that's the depth.
Great.
Everything else is
Thank
going to be no dewatering is proposed for any part of the project. In fact, when the architects were looking at it, we were very cognizant of that. We wouldn't be able to do it, so we didn't try. The dune is in great shape. I've heard the same thing that Mr. Warren heard, that within the next year or two, they were doing some off-beach, I guess, soundings or analysis last summer, and I hear that they're going to be doing that whole beach renourishment within the next year or two as well. And that's in conjunction with the work that the Army Corps is going to be doing up and down the whole East Coast over here, including West Hampton Quad. But I think these are all easy. We can get them to you by the next meeting. I do have one question I can ask. If
Sure.
the board seems to be very open and seems to like the project, we're wondering if we could proceed to ARB. Because I have a feeling there's going to be a little bit more of a discussion.
Our attorney, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I would do a two-part resolution resolution 1 to adjourn this for additional information's resubmittal by the applicant.
Okay.
And then I grant the applicant permission to go to ARB in the meantime, because just so you're not caught in the loop of waiting for timing, and that's a two-part resolution there.
The board happy with that? Okay, well, I'll make those two motions. Is that?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see.
Rich and Kevin, I think, right, we're done with that.
I think you're done with us.
Guys, we appreciate your help. Love the detail. Right on board.
Awesome.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Did you guys need me to stick around for the curb cut on 101 Hedges? Perfect.
No, we're good with that. Thank
You
you.
get a report.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thank you guys. Take care.
All right. So long.
Bye,
Happy
bye,
Juneteenth.
Rich.
Stay out of the
Thank you.
traffic.
All right. Bye-bye.
Do the Fosters, do you want to sit around for the whole meeting to talk at the end, or do you want to address the board about something,
I'd like
concerns?
to address the board, the rest of my family is here now.
Oh, okay, so you'd rather wait? I didn't want to make you wait through the rest of it, but, okay. It's air conditioned, I know. Okay, let's see, minutes. I read one of them, but I think they just came out, right? I mean.
No, I only gave you one set, I haven't finished the
Yeah, I
other
saw
one
that.
yet, so you only have
Right.
one set.
I mean, has everybody read the first one?
Yeah.
There was one correction. And other than
It's
that,
done.
I think it was good. I guess I'll make a motion to accept them as corrected. All in favor? Okay. And the next, when we finally comes up here, we'll get the next one done.
Yes. There's in progress.
Police report, they're
Yes.
turning along still, picking up speed.
He's written.
You don't have to do it now.
No, I will,
Yeah,
I'd like to
okay.
get it over.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's getting picked up on the recording. Okay, your voices. Yeah. Thank you.
So, it seems that it was a little less traffic, stops this month. It went down from 144 in April to 66. Why, I don't know. Anyway, three of them ended up being, arrests, Langston Harbor Road, Sag Road, and that was the third one was. Some abandoned 911 calls, 13 burglar alarms, most of them false, fire alarms all false. And, I don't know, it seems like it's pretty quiet. I have a lot of zeros on here. Code enforcement is a whole new crew. A new crew? Yeah, that we're breaking in. Oh. Well. A couple of larcenies, I don't know how they ended up. They don't tell me. And some parking complaints, a couple of animal complaints. And basically, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Gibson Beach defense. Already checked, and the quotes that we got, they're still, we'll do it for that. The concrete fence, I believe, was the low bidder.
Believe so, Bill.
We'll make a resolution to install it.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, the 23-24 fund balance, we found out that there's a stipulation in the mortgage on this place that you can't prepay it for a couple more years, so we have to
Abide by.
abide by that, not that there's much interest involved. They're pretty good to us in terms of the interest they charge. So I was going to suggest that we bulk up the service transition fund. That's the one if we ever have to take our own police force or have our own highway department. I'm sure the cost of doing that has probably gone up in the last number of years, and since we have money to put some into that, increase it a bit. I was going to suggest 200,000, and then the balance of any remainder would go into the capital highway fund. Any thoughts about that? Yeah, I mean, obviously the price of everything is skyrocketed, so we get stuck. Yeah. All right, I'll make a motion to, right, we need a motion for
Yes,
that?
correct, that's correct.
A motion to transfer $200,000 into the service transition fund and the balance remainder into the capital highway fund. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ooh, assembly permits.
Yes, assembly permits. Okay, we have a couple. Silver Sandler Summer Party on August 31st. I guess it's a Saturday. At 232 Parsonage Lane. It's their residence and it is 7.5 acres. It's the house, barn and pool house. There will be 200 people at the event, 50 people to work it, so therefore 250 people. It's a social party with food, music and dancing. The number of vehicles expected is 100. There will be a valet company. It's the Gold Coast Parking Management. The parking staff will be one posted at the driveway in the street, one posted at the house driveway, one posted at the beginning of the field, and 4 to direct guests to self-park in the field. There is a picture at the end to show you what we're talking about. There will be on-site security. It'll be Wilson and Associates. They will have portable bathrooms. 1 bathroom trailer is going to be there. No Southampton Town Police, no Highway Department, and no building inspector additionally needed. The sound says ground supported sound. I don't know what that means. Yeah. Okay, and the music will be a live band and a DJ. Maybe there will be atmospheric event lighting. There will be, the tent is going to be 30 by 40. If they do use a tent, and I'm sure they will. And then there will be updates on any changes. 2 generators, 2 75 kilowatts, and a stage will be installed for the DJ. So as far as parking goes, I guess they're parking in the back field. If you see the picture of Parsonage Lane with the big field there, there will be 1 parking attendant on Parsonage, 1 parking attendant at the house driveway, another parking attendant before the field, and 4 parking attendants in the field for self-parking, I believe. Oh, I don't know, they're valet, maybe they'll do it. I thought I read self-parking. What else do we need to know? Anybody have any questions? This is something new to us, right? They haven't had parties.
Now, this
in the past.
particular one, not this, no.
Can you see where they're parking, Bill?
Yeah.
The other Bill.
Ah,
We at one time, even though somebody was hiring their own security, suggest that they notify the town police.
Oh, they always do.
We
They
always
always do,
notify
okay,
the
that's
town
what I thought.
police. We wait for them to tell us whether or not they feel that they need to have a dedicated officer
Right,
in the area. We haven't gotten that from the chief, or actually it's Sergeant Schottenhamel on this one. And, sorry, I just brain dead. They did provide a security plan, which they have to do if it's over 250 people. So
yeah,
that
that's
is,
a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Police department should be.
I think they need another bathroom. Oh, there's a big trailer. They didn't say how many were in the trailer, but whatever. Well, shall I make a motion to accept this?
Carrie, I do have one
Yeah,
suggestion.
yeah.
Because you mentioned it before, that the generators
Oh, yeah.
be placed on the east side of the property,
Mhm.
because there's no houses on the east
Yeah.
side. There are houses on the.
Sometimes they can be
west.
louder than the music.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, I propose that we allow this permit to continue.
With that condition.
With that condition,
yeah,
seconds? All in favor?
aye.
And then we have, oh yeah, they sent out letters to all the neighbors, letting us know how loud they will be. Let's see, there's a clam bake, a pre-wedding welcome event at 80 Hedges Lane on August 9th from 5 to 10. Oh, you know what? They didn't mention times on this other.
3 to 8. The first one is 3 to 8. 3 p.m.
Okay, I didn't mention that. 3 to 8 on that first party. Get over early. We kid. So the clam bake is a pre-wedding welcome event on 80 Hedges Lane on August 9th from 5 to 10. There will be, it's on 1 acre at a home, private residence, 90 people are expected and 19 to work it. The 90 people, there'll be 70 adults and 20 kids. So about 110 people. They're gonna have a 32 by 50 Sperry tent and a 10 by 16 Sperry arch covering for music. The number of vehicles expected is 25. Be lucky. The valet company is East End Investigations. They will have on-site security. East End Clam Bake is the caterer. Winter Brothers, is the garbage. They will have portable bathtub, outback portable toilets to provide 1 8-foot cottage trailer for guests in front of the pebble driveway and 1 VIP stall unit for staff to place behind it. No Southampton Town Police Department or Highway Department needed in addition. Building inspector, Sperry tends to file the tenting with the inspector. The sound, there will be D3 audio, the music, the main squeeze, 5-piece band, lighting, bistro lights inside the Sperry tent. Tent will be the 32 tent with the archway. Generators, Honda Quiet 6,500 watt generator with 100 foot of power through the Sperry tents. And as far as parking goes, they don't have any place to park. So they are going to go down the road east, just east of the McCoy house, and park the cars on the north side of the road, where it's a vacant lot, just across from the post office. And then if they fill up there, they're going to go further east to the
south side in front of the
south
field.
side in front of the big field.
Don't think it's necessary because I talked to the parking attendant. Pretty sure I can get them most up on the north side.
While I'm at it, I guess I'll mention that they're having a post-wedding send-off event, the same people, a pizza party at 80 Hedges Lane on August 11th, Sunday. Oh, wait, is that a Sunday?
Yes,
So the party is Friday.
party's Friday night, wedding's on Saturday,
Oh, okay.
and the
From 5 to 10,
farewells on Sunday.
farewells on Sunday. It's on the 1 acre, and the tent will still be there, 32 by 50, arch, 80 people, 60 adults, 20 kids. They lost 10 adults. And 18 people working. So that'll be 98 people there. They're sending off, it's a send-off party for family and friends following the August 10th wedding. Number of vehicles, 25. Valets, East End Investigations and Security. They will have on-site security, East End Investigations and Security. They're having a food truck. We have pieces, the Winter Brothers. Yes, on the bathrooms, still have a bathroom there. And D3 audio, DJ name to be confirmed, the bistro lights, the 32 by 50 Sperry tent, and the quiet generator. Any questions?
What were the hours on the second one?
3 to.
Oh, the second one.
The second one was 5 to 10.
Okay.
And the first one, I think, was
Was
that
it?
5 to
They're both
10?
5 to 10.
5
yes.
to 10.
Okay.
So with no questions asked, I make a motion that we allow these 2 permits.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's the pizza party. I think that's it. isn't it?
That's it.
I need authorization to sign the engagement letter with Sadie and Partners. Those are our accountants who ordered us. Lori was able to finagle the price down a bit.
Good
Good
girl.
job. Yep.
It went up, but it was gonna go up higher.
Yeah.
So it's split over 2 years.
So can I get a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a curb cut application for 101 Hedges Lane. Request for a second driveway entrance.
Oh.
Do we have you here?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you? Mary Jane Asada, we're trying to get Asada 21 South Main Street, South New York, the applicant. My clients, were before the architectural review, were before the zoning board of appeals last month. Because they were seeking a variance to have parking in the required front yard off of Hedges Lane. And the board members all said to me, why are you doing this when you can have a curb cut on the other street, Fairfield Pond Lane, and you can, it looks like you can have parking in a non-required front yard. And I indicated to them, well, I was not representing them at the time, but they had gone before the AHRB, who were really, really adamantly against having a curb cut on Fairfield Pond Lane. I don't know what the reason for whatever, but they couldn't wait any longer for their construction, so they said, okay, we'll just go with it on Hedges Lane. They realized very quickly thereafter that the way they designed the house, they didn't put, they put the front door on Fairfield Pond Lane. They have a detached garage, which is at the total rear of the house, and that going from there to the front, without any driveway or without any parking for delivery, this was not going to work. So they came to me to do a variance application, and the board ZBA actually said something that was accurate and truthful. Why are we doing this? Just, the AHRB were making a declaration they do not have jurisdiction over driveways. And certainly not when it's going to require non-conforming and people to get variances. And when you can do a conforming situation, you shouldn't be forced into a non-conformity of the zoning code. Apply for a curb cut, secondary curb cut. You go before the trustees, make your case, and if they grant it, you can withdraw your application for a variance. So I am here to ask your approval of a second curb cut. I don't know if you can bring it up, but what it is it meets all of the criteria. I went through it with John. It's 30 feet at least from every property line. It's not going to create any side line. The only thing that I have to put before you is your code says it has to be a service driveway. And I don't know which one to call the service driveway. The one that goes to the garage directly from Hedges Pond, or the one that comes from Fairfield Pond Lane so they can get deliveries to their door. It's sort of weird in the sense of it's sort of backwards, but
Where's
really
the front door?
the front door is on Fairfield Pond Lane. But the garage is totally at the other end of this linear house, and no comments about what it looks like, please. They took quite a bit of comments to the ZBA, and it's awkward to so without any comments about what it looks like aesthetically. There's a garage at the opposite end. It's not attached to the house. So you have a detached garage with the doors facing not toward the street, and there is a driveway that goes directly to this garage. I don't think I can really call that the service driveway, because that's where the owners are going to park.
On Hedges? On Hedges?
Yes, because that's where their garage is. But they need some way to get to the front of the house.
Right. No,
And their front door.
there's
and
somewhere
for-
there's
and
a
for-
different drawing of that, Karen. And it's actually it's a pretty nice thing.
If you,
Maybe that's.
She's got it.
They did it like one of those old driveways where they have grass down the middle.
yes,
you know,
so
Before they started.
we try to
paving.
minimize
Yeah,
asphalt, we try to minimize the aesthetic so that you're not gonna see blacktop, all right?
Right.
So, but I do submit that it is not practical not to be able to get to the front of the house
right.
when you're getting any kind of, delivery. It's just,
Yeah, I don't think this board has any problem with that layout.
So,
To me.
and if
it's-
you look at it, actually both, the front and the back, if you look at, we're not doing it, they're doing with pavers and grass, so aesthetically, we're trying to minimize the impact here.
Brian, did you want to explain, just a little bit of footwork, because I think one of the driveways might be a little bit close to another driveway, specifically on the curve.
Yes,
Right.
if you look at the interior, measurement, it says it's not 30, but I had a lot of trouble with trying to get the surveyor to correctly plot everything. So if you measure from here, it's 30, okay? I don't know why they did this to where the parking area was. The code actually says is here, it has to be at least 30 feet from the property line. And it is, and I tried to get this corrected before I got here today and was not successful. All right, I had told surveyor to please measure it here. What does he do? He puts it here, which is where the edge of the parking is. All right, so I understand. If you,
We can see that at scale.
okay,
So we see that curve, where your point is.
Yes.
You can see the scale, it's only 6 feet on that difference, and if you scale it off of the.
but I will have a corrected map, so just for your records submitted, so that at least your records clearly show that it shows 30.
Sure.
I tried to get it before today and to no avail. Mr. Brelsky did not respond to my email, so, alright.
So I think that and Mrs. Sato can stop me if she disagrees with any of these points as we reviewed the application. The intention of the two driveways separation was really to avoid the circular driveways. Everybody in Sagaponic traditionally, historically, has always had that one driveway, pulls the Model A up, goes past the house into the detached garage or otherwise, but it's really the one driveway. And the goal was to stop the proliferation of two driveways on a solitary street front, two driveways to service the house.
You didn't want the circular,
Right.
cut with two cuts.
So I think as I'm trying to draw the distinction for this property,
Yes.
why it would make sense to allow this application is that one, it's on two different streets.
Yes,
Two, there is no plan and really physically impossible to connect the two driveways. So you can't have any kind of a circular driveway situation. They really are isolated from the two sides of the house.
that is correct.
Two, the other distinction here is that you have to be 100 feet from the driveway of the adjacent parcel. In this case, it's 75. The argument in reverse on that is that if you made it farther to be that compliant, you're actually making it more difficult from
On
a
the
traffic
corner.
safety standpoint, closer to the corner, right? So you don't really wanna, this property is unique in that, again, it's on a corner, but you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, pardon the pun.
The
Because-
100-foot separation would really make, I think it to be, it would really create an unsafe situation in this circumstance
Yeah.
with this corner lot.
So those are the 2 points that I think make this not precedent setting, but in harmony with the intention of the law to have the two driveways in prohibition, in this case, to allow it in this configuration. And I also appreciate that or recommend that the homeowner did try to limit the impact of the driveway with the grass strip.
My concern is the safety of that driveway, because it's gonna be about opposite where the post office is. And as you pulling out of the temporary post office as it is now, there's a blind spot coming north on on Fairfield Pond Lane. And then you got as close to the intersection. And to add another driveway on the other side, just so somebody can knock on the front door without walking past the house. I understand the concern, but I would be against having that driveway. I'm not, I don't know exactly where that proposed driveway would be for where the exit from the post office is. I can't tell, but I think it's a safety matter that coming out.
Isn't that post office there right now temporarily?
Yes,
Yeah.
but
So do you want us to,
But how long
when do
can-
you think that post office is going to, when they're gonna be able to move again? Maybe we can come up with some,
as soon as possible, but it won't be a while.
Yeah. Oh,
They said they had. to
Within a
be
year.
okay, November.
yeah,
They wrote.
you know, because if you notice, the house is still being, worked on.
Yeah.
So if you would like, I certainly would approach them saying that, can we, possibly put everything in but not use it? I mean, like put a gate there until,
What was wrong with the circular driveway?
I think that was just what the original intention of the law was, to not have two curb cuts facing one street. It was on both sides.
So can exceptions be made?
Yes.
Yes.
sure.
I mean, they wanted
Maybe-
to come in this way and be able to go out that way, and they said, no, they couldn't be connected.
Right.
Well, if you come in here towards the garage and then go out to the east, you're close to the front door on the same.
You mean have more driveway circling?
Have what we say you can't have.
Yeah, but they need to get back to their garage.
Oh,
Their
It's on
garage
two
is
different
here.
sides.
another garage?
No, this is the only garage. This is the
Yeah,
only.
this
garage.
structure.
Back.
This isn't a garage, this is just a.
Yeah, so
private
you
area.
come in hedges to your garage, but you keep going to the north of the house, and then you go out on hedges as well, and you're near where the cars are parked.
They didn't, you don't allow two curb cuts on the same street.
Yeah,
I would have to get a variance to do that.
yeah.
What about a circular driveway going all the way towards
All the way around the house.
towards the front door and then coming back out the way you went in? That's the real old style of country
Yeah, yeah.
driveway.
You mean coming in
No,
here?
yes, and then going around north and then going back out the same way? No, that's south. Yeah.
I could.
That would be the whole front yard being a driveway.
Yeah, that would,
That's tough.
It's better than the riskiness of.
well, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
since this isn't going to be here, the post office is gonna be here forever. I think it would be a better alternative to say, you can't put that curb cut in until, I don't know, November.
How far away is that driveway from the corner? Because people come around it.
This clearance is met here, it's 58 feet. I mean, this is 58
That's
feet,
50,
this
yeah.
is 58, I'm sorry, this is 50 and
50 and
50.
50,
So
yeah.
it makes the,
And how far?
and so this is even further, I would say, if this is
200.
50, this is.
Yeah, 120.
It's not bad. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of like this one,
That's fine.
yeah.
I was just coming up with suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be tough to do, because that's a lot of I mean, it's a lot of pavement, I mean, or even, it's, that would, and then it would have to loop here.
Yeah,
And
I know.
I don't know.
You put a big beautiful tree right in the middle and.
Well, I just kind of wonder whether, if you have two driveways, the real garage, parking, all that is back there. The other one isn't used a whole lot,
Yes.
you know.
Really, I mean,
just
really,
people-
this
people-
is the primary usage, this is truly, that's why I said it's sort of backwards. This is the primary driveway, because the garage is here, the parking is
So
here.
what would your address be for delivery?
It actually, this has to be Hedges Lane. Because right now it's happening, I can move to change it, I mean, I can make an application.
No, I'm just
change it,
wondering
but
what-
Right now, it's Hedges Lane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I would call the Fairfield Pond Lane the front,
So would I.
and I would call the Hedges the back, but whatever.
This is what happens with two
No,
front
no,
yards.
this is actually usually, you have the short side called the front, but they didn't do it that way back. This was,
Maybe we move
this
the
was a
house.
pre-existing.
Bottom line is poor
I mean,
planning.
We may look into changing this, you know, the street address, I mean, that's apparently a separate application.
I appreciate that idea to have it done, used after the post.
I will speak to them, and I don't really think that's.
That
going
piece
to
of
be-
property will never be anything other than the temporary post office until it leaves, because it's not gonna be a house or anything.
No, I think that is not an unreasonable request. I mean, I will have to speak to them, because saying, hey, look, you can install everything, but you have to put some sort of blockage there because they're concerned about the safety across the street.
put some planters.
Yeah, some planners until you're ready, so, but there has to be an outside, when do you, I mean,
The intent is to get the post office back in their location as soon as possible. They're moving along, but I don't know what that date is. In my head, I'm saying the beginning of next year, because they either have to get in before the holiday season, or it's not gonna happen until after the holiday season, because they can't move them during Christmas.
okay.
So that's all I got for you.
So I will, as I said, if you will allow them to do the work and puts, as you say, I mean, because it's grassed areas, to put some blockade planters there until, I mean, I think that they would actually accept that versus not having it at all.
Right.
You
Well,
see
they're
what I mean?
using it as a driveway now, right?
Construction has to.
I mean, there's construction vehicles, yes, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they don't.
They've taken down the fence now.
Yeah, they're starting to landscape.
So can I maybe make a suggestion to accommodate that if this works, if this is what maybe the board is thinking about, is grant the application, recognize on the record why this is different and doesn't set a precedent for these kind of corners. And because of the unique nature of the property that we outlined on the record, allow them to construct these two driveways as indicated, grant the permit for the two curb cuts, but prohibit its use, or its residential use, until the post office is relocated.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good to me. Yeah.
And everybody's striving to do that as soon as possible, am I correct?
Oh, yeah, it has to.
Oh,
move.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's moving.
Okay.
You just don't know when.
So.
No, I just want to assure them, you know, what do they say, well, what happens if this next, and I said, no, nobody wants the post office to be there, you know.
Yeah.
You can tell them it can't be, so it has to move, yeah.
Okay, I only have heard for you. There's a limit on their lease up there as well, so. Can't be there forever.
So I make that motion, you said it, got a
Moved,
second?
yeah.
That sounds good.
That's a reasonable
That's
compliment.
really, yeah, that's a compliment.
Thanks.
That's somebody
Appreciate it.
seconded it?
I didn't hear a
Oh.
second.
Okay, all in favor? Great.
Thank you.
Fosters, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Those are cool. Those are good calls.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
So,
Marley. This is Jennifer.
oh, Meredith also. 698 or 737 is. So I wanted to come today, obviously you guys know our belated feelings perhaps on the tower, and I'm trying to deal with this in, I have two questions. One is that I don't know if anybody here has employees that they house, and so you can house employees when they're considered fundamental to your business and they need to be ready to go at the drop of a hat. Those are the two employees that live next door here. And the story of that house is kind of amazing. It was going to be a tear down on Sag Main Street. We were
My father and I visited the property because they were having a drainage issue off the backside of our barn. And I joked with the homeowner at the time, oh, be careful, my dad's gonna be moving this house before this meeting is over. And sure enough, before that meeting was over, my father had begun to make plans to move this house because we were sadly in need for some employee housing in the mid 2000s, about 2009, 10 maybe. And so we began this incredible project that involved a lot of thrift, mainly picking up a completely finished house and moving it. And I don't know how many people have ever put in their own septic lines and their own electric lines and actually overseen the abandonment of pre-existing septic, but we did all that. And we didn't pay anyone to do that, we did it ourselves because that's the thrift that's involved with running a farm. So now fast forward a decade or so, and the farm has changed a lot. I'm lucky enough to have been able to attract 2 incredibly gifted employees who no other reach would be able to afford to live here. However, because we have this great housing, I offered them the housing. They said this is great, and they moved in. At that time, there wasn't a tower sited there. And what I know is that if I wouldn't live next to a tower, and so when my employees both came to me and they said, you know, we're not going to live next to a tower. That's not the house we moved into. I said, I completely understand. So I have 2 problems. One is that I'm losing a piece of housing that I personally worked my ass off to create. I can't get the money back and I can't get the time back, and now I'm threatened with losing a really significant plan for the future of my farm, which has existed in the same town for a long time, generations anyway. So what I kind of need to know is, 1, if we can delay this project to the extent that I can relocate at a comfortable and realistic way my 2 most important employees. My ultimate goal is that there isn't a tower here at all, so I don't even have to face that headache. But at the very least, what I'm asking for is the village to make a concession of time. They haven't made a concession of time determining this project. And so on this other end, I have to ask for a concession of time because I have nowhere to put my 2 most important employees. And that's all I have to ask you guys today. I need a concession of time. Ultimately, I need that tower not to go there because that will impact the way I can use that home in the future. I'll determine that depending on how all this goes, what you guys decide. I don't want to go back to what I've already made part of the public record by writing a letter to the Southampton Press, which I think spelled out certain things that took place, or I should say didn't take place, before that tower was approved. So I want everybody to consider that because you know what? I'm up every fucking night thinking about it. Thank you.
Okay, she probably said it much better than me, but at least I wrote my comments down, so. They just identify yourself. Sorry, Lee Foster. 698 Seconic Main Street. That's a special picture for you, Bill. So you can read along with me, and I guess Lisa not being here, I'll just mail hers. Do I get one? Oh, thank you. And I can give it to her, but I just, thank you, that's fine. All right. Good afternoon, board members. I am conciliatory by nature. I've been told that I am. I thought it a flaw until I realized that it's accurate. I try to represent outwardly and inwardly a way to excuse poor behavior, but there is a limit. After meeting in May, when my family voiced our opposition to the cell tower location and approval, it was obvious to me that our connection to the land surrounding and the little house immediately next door to Village Hall was absolutely of no consequence. When a person is dismissed, disregarded, devalued, and identified as of no importance, a great injustice is done. And I'm here to set before you a serious defect in governance. I received a letter from Tony Tohill in 2008, as did all members of the village board at the time, which outlined governance and function and planning board procedures. It related to due diligence and the obligation of the board to honestly review
unbiased and unblemished, all projects coming before it judiciously and prudently. At this juncture, the lack of due diligence on the part of the village is exceedingly regrettable and places us, the foster family, in a category we never expected to enter. Last February, you looked to your legal advisor and abdicated power and proceeded to expedite an approval. Homeland Towers brokered a deal. I'm going to skip to the second page. The residence situated 30 yards away has enormous importance to us, providing a place for employees ever since we moved it off the Jeffers property in 2006 for that very reason. Those letters attached. It is a home, affordable, logical, and reasonable in size and in character with the village. The cell tower in 2005 was a moment in Sagaponack when an outcry, this was the one over to Wolfers, when an outcry redirected outcome. But today, it appears we're the only aggrieved party. I know I'm skipping, so you guys can just read the literature that I've provided you. Today, it appears we're the only aggrieved party. And is it because the little house is the little house? That said, nobody wants to live next to a cell tower. It's one thing to choose to live next to a cell tower, but the village of Sagaponack has imposed a cell tower on us. I hope you take Marilyn's comment very seriously. Real private for us.
Are you leaving?
I
I would like to say that I'm just very saddened by this whole scenario that this has come to happen, because you are a great family in Sagaponack and probably related to me. And I lived with you for 14 years renting, but it's just coming a little too late, I'm sorry to say. And I did read Dean's suggestion on the easthamptontrust.org, and there it is quite horrifying, the things that they say about the emittance of the radiation, if there is any. But I have also read other things that are from the FCC and from other upstanding corporations, that there has not been any bit of truth to the fact that there's a problem yet. I don't know if it ever will be a problem.
appreciate your comments.
So I'm kind of on the side of having it, and no one else came to say that they didn't want it, and I'm very sorry. Feel terrible.
I would like to say something too. I think probably I speak for everybody. Your family is such a valued family and members of the community. I mean, I can't even tell you how grateful we are, or, I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure, when, just as people and what you contribute, and your own individual personalities and your businesses and your farmland. And I, in the articles, it said that the board members remained silent. I, for myself, like Bill said, that he wished that he'd come forward earlier. I think we all would have taken everything so seriously. I wasn't here for the meeting in February, unfortunately. I was in Peru, but I did learn that Rhodey sent out 600 emails. And I also, Marilee said she didn't come to the meeting in February because she was quite sure that other people would talk out against it, and I wasn't here, saw the meeting after, and it didn't seem, except for, you did mention about the tower falling and your concern, but there was no,
Negativity.
Objection.
there were no, yeah, both of those things, there were no objections, and I was like, okay, and had this been addressed, I think every single one of us would have done everything possible to make sure that your family felt okay about what was happening and tried to help in any way. I feel terribly about it too, just like Karen. I mean, I don't want you to have these feelings or for your tenants to have those feelings. I personally, a long time ago, was very involved in reading about the effects and I was also and got way too worried and then fortunately for myself, I balanced it out with not the information from the government, but more from oncologists and cancer rates if they've gone up, and talked to actually a nephew who was a niece who's an electrical engineer, and tried to get the other perspective just about the health effects. I'm no expert, I'll never be an expert on that. It's just I felt better than I had before. So when the subject came up, and I didn't know, when everybody was for it basically because of our terrible cell service. I also, like Bill said last month, we wish that you'd come forward earlier, and really sad that
Let's hope it works.
didn't happen.
I have a quick question. I'm Robin Foster, but I have a quick question. I just feel, and Bill knows that I spoke to him briefly, but this is pretty ironic that you're talking about a cell tower and you're talking about the fact that people lack to read their emails, lack to communicate, and you think the cell tower is going to make it any better. I think it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that we have been members of this community, the fact that not one of you picked up the phone and said, there's something that's coming across our desk. Are you interested? That you couldn't, as our friends and our neighbors that you supposedly say that you are, that you couldn't have picked up the phone and said, we have this tower company coming to us. Well, the same tower company actually went to my brother, I don't know, 4 years ago, and asked if they could put, if we would be interested in putting a tower in our backyard. And my brother spelled it out for him. Not only was they weren't willing to pay, but also too, that it was not a safe thing. And so they came to you and putting maybe, the laws, the federal government is exempt and blah, 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 all of this stuff. Well, I just find it amazing to me that no one just took a breath and said, let's just think about this a little bit. I mean, there's now in Hempstead, they have made sure that these towers don't go near schools. If there's California, they've made sure that these towers don't go through certain residential areas. I mean, there's a lot of research. So
I have done some research and I stand where I'm at.
I think somebody told me that the Sag Harbor Village Hall has a cell tower on top of it, 5G, which is in the middle of that whole residential commercial district there. I mean, you've got thousands of people there right underneath the 5G cell tower.
Well, I will definitely confirm that, but I will also say, when I spoke to Lisa, we had a long conversation, and this, Bill, so she said to me, the contract was signed, and I said, okay. And she said, the only thing that we didn't get clarification was is that it was 4G or 5G, because they're very different, she says to me. And I said, oh, yes, they are.
It's 4G.
All right, so that's what she said to me. All right, that's what she said to me. But I'm not even talking about the difference between 4G and 5G. I'm talking about the fact that you signed a contract and she evidently was not clear on that. Okay?
Don't run away yet. I was thinking that if somebody bought a house next to one of your fields, like last fall, and the summer comes around and you're out spraying spinosad or one of the other organic things. And they look out and they see that, and they have children, and they freak out. Doesn't matter what it is, if people see chemicals freak out, they freak out. And that person came to the village and said, you know, I never would have bought this house if I knew the chemicals were sprayed next door. And I'd like you to give me some time to leave this house and buy a new house. I'd like you to have a parallel, put a moratorium on farmers spraying chemicals near my house. What you're talking about, to me, since I know what problems I've had getting help, retaining help, it's more a money problem. Somebody else told me this actually with his employees. He said it's a money problem, the housing thing. And you just got to pay your help enough so they can afford to live here. And my son has a huge, he took over the business, has a huge payroll because that's the only way he could retain employees. And he had to pay them enough so they can live or
He's
commute or
not growing
whatever.
lettuce, Bill.
What?
He's not growing lettuce.
Well, I tell you, he's got
Just
he's got 12
just to
people
make
doing
sure that we keep this
piecework,
apples
yeah.
and apples.
I know.
Okay, just as long as that's clear. But I appreciate at least the commentary.
Yeah,
I think we're all taking it in, as they say. And that's all actually we were here to do, was to make some substantive comments as to the issues in front of us. So read the material, enjoy it, it's history, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope we have a good rapport with you all. Going forward.
You'll continue to, Carrie. I understand the significance of this. I'm speaking for myself. As I said in the very beginning, I'm conciliatory, and I know that time goes on. But there are issues that are definitely now dead in front of us. Okay, thank you.
I would rent the house.
You plan on it?
No, I have my own, but I'm just saying, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who would rent it. I don't know where the girl's gonna go, but
We need employee housing. That's
I
the
know.
problem. Okay.
Trailers.
Thank you.
okay, what's next? Welcome sign, I guess we'll wait till.
Yeah, no,
Oh, you
nothing
have
on,
it, or-
no,
Oh,
no,
okay,
what I,
right.
We have the design, we
Yep.
wanted it 4 feet wide.
Yep.
I'm gonna get a price getting it installed. Kerry had actually sent me a picture of the sign that's down at Sag Main Beach,
Yeah,
the way
right.
they have it.
Yep,
So that's the way I'm gonna ask them to price it out with
You
those
think-
posts.
you want it that high?
I don't know how
I
high
think
anybody
it's,
wants it. What color is it gonna be?
Or do you want a lower one? Do you want the lower?
Yeah, I
one?
would think you do it a bit lower.
Sure. Lower's
Yeah,
fine.
like eye level.
Well, if it's gonna, oh wait, it's not gonna be down there.
Like 5 feet? Is it, you're gonna do it on, Fairfield?
I think the bottom would be. 4
Down
feet
line.
up, like-
Okay.
Like a yard fence, you know, start that high.
Alright.
What height are you saying? I missed that.
4 feet on the bottom.
Sure.
and then it'll go up.
And then go up.
4 foot from the bottom and then up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right, and so it would be 4 feet wide by, what's that, 3?
whatever they need to get the artwork and the letters, I mean, they're good.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure I had all the deets on that, so.
I just wanted to say one other thing that's not even on here, it's now the time to say that. It's about the parking lot, the Beach Lane,
Oh, maybe?
Sag Main Beach.
Yeah,
I had called the town and finally got
and one person this evening.
talking to the building, no. Who's the director? Parks and Recreation Mechanics, Kristen, we played a little phone tag, but finally I was telling her that there's a huge puddle, it's like half the size of the parking lot that should be fixed, I didn't know how that would be done, and then there's a sinkhole and a little one. So damned if they can just fix it up, and now,
They listen to you.
Now
I know
they
people
need-
have complaining for years.
they
and
need
listen you.
to get the lines down in the parking lot, which I'm sure they're going to do next.
Yeah, Rosemar's doing it, so they could probably
Oh.
click along. Yeah, I
Okay.
was down there when they were ripping it up. I thought they're gonna put a drain in the middle, but there, looks like it's running into the pond.
They were supposed to put some
I
sort of
don't think
drainage in
there's a
there.
drain.
There's not.
Yeah, I don't think there should be a drain. Going into the pond.
No, it shouldn't go into the pond, and they did tell me they were looking into putting in some
Well,
sort
maybe
of,
they did it by the edge of the pond.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have a geologist that's working through Cornell Cooperative Extension on the cleanliness and of the pond.
Right.
I think maybe we should call him and his outfit to come down and take a look. Is this
We've
oiled?
already, we've already done that meeting. When we do our MS4, through our, this MS4 plan, part of that is that particular area drains into the pond because it's to the pond, like everybody wants it clean, but it's not our property, it's the town's, and I've spoken to the town, Kristen, many times to tell her that this would help our MS4 and their MS4 plan to put some sort of drainage system there to catch that water before it goes in the pond. So, and I did speak with her over the winter and she said they were looking to put something down there.
Yeah,
So it is possible they put something.
I think I saw a drain there, though, but I didn't look hard, so.
There used to be a drain there years,
Yeah,
right about in the middle of where that new pavement is.
yeah.
If that's gone and it's running into the pond, there are solutions to prevent that from going,
Yeah,
Sure.
that runoff into the pond. As a matter of fact, they have developed this, it's almost through wood chips and stuff like that.
coconut,
Right.
like,
On the edge, that will
Coconuts,
soak
yeah.
up that,
right.
that will soak up
And
that.
and there's also drainage systems, because I talked to Charlie McGarland about it, because they've installed it in other places in the town. That it's like a filter system, it's a drainage and then the
Right.
water filters and
Right,
then goes into
exactly.
the pond, but it filters through these filters and goes out as clean as opposed to contaminated first runoff from. Anyway,
They
I'll find
did
out
have
what
a-
they put in
They
there,
did have a machine by the edge of the pond. And maybe they did something,
maybe they did,
it's happening over there.
Yeah,
But I didn't walk over to see what they did, but they had a machine over off the edge of the pavement, so maybe they did,
well, maybe they, yeah.
maybe, yeah.
I'll call and find out.
Pay bills, is that where we are? Okay. Oh. What's in it?
And this is, this is June, so we paid the bulk twice in May, but this is a smaller.
There you go. Okay, so I'll make a motion to pay from the general fund $44,816.26. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to expend from the tree fund $9,164.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's it?
That's what's it's the short one.
And we got the signs?
Yep.
Okay. It's just terrible to have evidence come back after me. This is from 2007.
Here you go. No,
Okay. It's terrible.
What is it about?
let's talk about it later.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So,
Zoning.
just that, you have the organizational meeting coming up in July, it's going to be before your, July 7th.
So it's set a meeting date?
It's July 1st at 12 p.m. That's the official year.
So I need a motion to set that date?
Yeah, that's, I'm gonna do it, but yeah, look at
Okay.
that. We said it last organizational meeting, but just in case.
Oh, okay. So I make a motion to set the organizational meeting for July 1st at 12 noon.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
What is IIMC National Institute?
Are we done?
We are done.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.